What's good, y'all? Welcome to another Anything by Mansa Cannon. I'm Mansa today. My partner in shine is Charles Dickson. I'm so excited to have my mans on. This is one of my pro fights, from the luxurious organization Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Lambda Theta Chapter here in UC. Still got to represent. That's just necessary. But this guy right here, he has worked for some of the most amazing companies. He's done some great work. You'll still see, chances are, ESPN, they stay posting and reposting other people's content. They've reposted his content several times. I've seen Fox Sports Net do that too. This guy's worked for some very, very large companies as an associate producer. I'm certain you're going to love hearing his story, his path, and also what his experience was like in the industry, because this allows you to figure out if you want to be in this industry. But before we even get into anything, I got to ask the number one question that allows me to even be able to interview, which is, do you like your job, man?
I do. I love my job. It's something I've been in, and knowing what I wanted to do since I was graduating high school. I wanted to be in sports entertainment, sports broadcasting, sports TV. The hope was to be on camera. But the path that I wanted to take to get on camera, I realized there's a different way to get there and have Melissa a lot more control, a lot more writing, a lot more creativity. So I just pretty much changed to being behind the camera and doing the producing and stuff like that. So I'm well versed in being on camera, how to write, how to set up cameras, how to do a stand-up, roll out a package, do B-roll and all that stuff and tell a story, but then also be able to help other people tell their story and articulate it in the best way possible. So I've got a chance to just do all of that, work from local TV, the intern from local TVs and different stations, from small places like Syracuse and mid places like Cincinnati, to interning in Los Angeles, KABC, to working at big places like Fox, to where I'm at now at Wave Sports and Entertainment, where we're just also growing as a company. Company is about 5 years old. So we're growing and creating new things, and being able to focus on basketball only is something that I've always wanted to do. So being in that spot now, and the path I had to get here, it was a lot.
Well, we're going to try to bring that into something that can be spoken through in this interview, but nonetheless, let's rewind real quick.
Yep.
What was the first job, and it can be ridiculous, it doesn't have to be something serious. What was the first job you ever remember as a child wanting to have? Perfect example, I've had people say they wanted to be James Bond. I wanted to be Michael Jordan. I expected to grow up to be 6'6" and dark skin, bald head, and be able to play for Chicago. I was so likely to be a Jordan, I forgot that I could be me and play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what was that first job for you?
Oh, my first, it was definitely playing in the NBA. That was all. But I love basketball. Ball is life. And then I wanted to play in the NBA. I did everything I could to play. Just play basketball every single day, 24 hours a day. As if I could, I would. It was just every single day. Basketball was my dream. That's what it was, but then, being, height challenged. So I try to believe like, I can be a Muggsy Bogues or Nate Tiny Archibald or something like that and make the league. But then, like gradually I got to high school, and then you got to, playing around some other guys and seeing other professionals and playing like the Drew Holidays, the Jordan Farmars, the Autumn guys, and seeing them in high school and playing against them. And you be like, okay, I'm good, but I ain't that good. And something, and every athlete has that recollection when you realize when you're playing against NBA type of player, and you're like, yo, he's really good. Like, he's out of this world good. So, that's where I was like, okay, I got to high school and I was like, okay, it might be time to switch it up and figure something else new. I jumped to baseball. Played baseball at Xavier for my freshman year, walked on, and then tore my labrum, and I was like, okay, now I gotta find, focus in on a career. So I just dove into what I'm doing now.
Okay. Well, you're better than me, because I absolutely had delusions of grandeur. I never thought anybody was better than me. The problem was my dad is 6'6", my brother's 6'6". you know, back in the day, they used to tell you you're gonna grow up to be about 6'7", something like that. So I was waiting. I trained my whole life being a power forward, small forward. I mean, I played all the way up to junior year of high school, and when you get to junior year and you realize you're 5'11" with the skill set of a power forward and at best a power forward dribbling skills. I mean, you can get good enough to be a small forward with the dribbling skills, but not Lamar Odom or nothing like that.
No.
But I was like, yeah, no one's recruiting D1 for this. I'm getting acknowledged for football and track, so I'm gonna go ahead and commit to that. And so yeah, you're right. Real life hits you, and you're like, where's the money gonna come from? And I figured out another way to go D1.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you are a Xavier guy. And you don't just go, for anybody that doesn't know Xavier, I'm a UC guy. I'm going to always rep my school. I'm not trying to put down Xavier, nothing like that. But Xavier is a private school. It's a private school.
Private school now. Oh, no.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, and somehow they're part of the fake Big East. Anyways, they're...
I'll give you that. Yeah, fake Big East. Is that... Hey,
every time I wear my Big East clothes, somebody looks at me and says, you go to Xavier? No. I was a part of UC. Anyways, so... Yeah. You went to Xavier. You didn't just go there because you said you walked onto their baseball team. When you went to Xavier, because your degrees, and I want you to definitely articulate what those are. I know broadcast journalism, communication. Those degrees are related to what you do. So did you already go into Xavier with the idea that you were going to get into this profession?
Yes, I went right into Xavier knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I was going to do communications, electronic media. And be right into it. So right into writing classes, I did not really go in there thinking like, okay, I'm gonna find my major. No, I run in knowing I was going to do some type of work with TV. So it was very, very easy for me to go in. Xavier, I articulated that in my essay when I was applying, like, this is what I want to do. Xavier at the time when I applied had a radio station. And when I applied, that was one of the things I had made the insight of communicate with the radio station on Xavier's campus, that I wanted to be on it, that I wanted to talk, I wanted to play music and things like that. And then UC bought it. So took it away. So I had to come in, kind of switch it up. So it was I knew that I wanted to do broadcasting. I was going to go in and try everything. I was going to try the radio station. I was going to try the TV station and do it all. I just never fell into the newspaper side of things because I didn't really like to write as much as I do now. So pretty much, yeah, that was the reason when I went in. And then I just kind of like, one of my mom was like, you should just walk onto the baseball team. Like, go try. And she sent them an email. They welcomed me down there and I ran for them. I hit for them. You know, I did some defense for them. They're like, oh, you want to be on the team? I'm like, sure, like, it's not, why not, You were
also a practice player for the Xavier women's basketball team too, right?
Yes, yeah. So after I tore my labrum and everything and got healthy, I became the basketball practice player for the women's basketball team. So that's something I also did for the last like 3 years. So that's why my love for basketball is just to another level, learning from Kevin McGuff and other players on the team like April and Amber and all them, just, learning the game and helping, those players throughout the season, being one of them guys where I was like, okay, I know the game plan. I know what's going on. I have to like almost being like a player coach, but not like it felt like being a coach because I had to I really was into like, whew. I don't know. It was like being a coach, but it was just great. It was like one of the things that I love doing. I just love playing basketball. And that was one of the things, but yeah, back to the communication thing, but yeah, whatever. I don't know.
The thing is you're really highlighting a lot of your connections to the sports. You're solidifying what gives you the credibility and what you're talking about. But also, I'm just curious, was there something prior to college that created this interest?
I would say the thing that probably made me want to be interested in doing, it might be Mark Brown. Mark Brown is our like Black anchor on KABC. And he was the only Black guy that looked like me on TV, like dark-skinned Black guy. and he was on KABC doing the news and local news. And he's somebody that I just remember, and I was like, man, it's good. What he's doing is something that I enjoy watching. Seems like he's having fun doing it. And then, for me, just when it came to a lot of Laker games, it was Chick Hearn. Chick Hearn just doing the play-by-play and things like that. Something that I was also interested in, but I didn't really want to do play-by-play thing, but just seeing like the sideline and being around the sport, it's just something I just knew that's what it was. Like, I'm like, if there's a profession that has me around the sport that I love on a daily basis. All I have to do is talk about it, over and over again and enjoy it. And I get paid to just cover it. Like that's all I want to do. If I can't play it, I want to cover it. So it was very, very, everything was surrounded by basketball. It was basketball, basketball, basketball. I want basketball intertwined with my life for the rest of my life.
So you interned in this field, correct?
Yes.
This is only important because I did an internship. One of my degrees is journalism. Mm-hmm. And with respect to the organization, it was intended to be biased for UC sports. And when I would do interviews, write-ups, it would take away a lot of my credibility because I would start writing and it was like, you have to say it in this particular way because of the site that it was and the company that it worked for. It's kind of obvious right now. But nonetheless, it became even harder because they assigned me to write an article one time for the UC track team, for the Big East Championship that my name is a part of. So I wrote an article and I am in it. And I'm like, I don't think I should be the guy doing this.
Right.
And I don't feel like my skills were really developed. So I missed out on that great opportunity like you had of actually going out there, getting real journalism experience. And I feel like that really definitely impacted my direction in which I went professionally, regardless of where I am right now, interviewing you today. I still definitely feel like there could have been a lot more direction, guidance that I could have had that would have assisted me getting to a Fox, any of those major networks that you've worked for. I know you've worked for a lot of networks, even CBS. So with that being said, I would love to hear some of your college experience in getting this degree that allowed you to be prepared for the internships as well as the internships that you received, and if your college experience assisted with or someone assisted you with getting that internship.
Yeah, so pretty much when I was at Xavier, the main process of like learning the skills within the editing, and I took a very deep dive and then the tools of what to learn around the industry. Like most people want to just learn one thing. Like I want to just learn how to be on camera. I'm just going to learn how to talk on camera and things like that. And then I have other people do other things for me. For me, I was always told to be the one-man band. My biggest thing whenever I was in college was like, I want to be a Swiss Army knife. I want to be able to do everything. I want to be able to edit. I want to be able to shoot. I want to be able to talk on camera. I want to be able to set up a shot. I want to know how to do lighting. So when I was at Xavier, that was probably the biggest thing. I tried to take every single class, the lighting class, the shooting class, the editing class, the being a reporter class, documentary class. So all those things were very important to me to learn. So when I was always given a project at any of these internships or anything like that, I would get in the future that, hey, Charles, could you edit this? Or could you look at this tape? Or could you cut this for us? Or could you shoot this? Or could you write this? I was like, okay, I can do all those things. There's no reason for you to think that I'm not good at certain areas. And I really equated that to how I was growing up with sports. I played all the sports, any sport under the sun, I played it. You know what I'm saying? I tell my kids now, I'm like, your dad was good at all sports, wasn't great at any, but I was really good at all of them. Now, I want you to have my kids and other people I mentor focus on one thing, when it comes to sports. But when it came to like your career, I make sure that you're good at everything. And that's a plus in this industry. You want to make sure that you're good at everything, that you know everything, that you're update on all the technology that's being introduced. So when I got my first internship at Fox 11 in Cincinnati, and I was a sports intern and got to go to the Bengals games and do sideline work and do stand-ups for my own self and my own B-rolls and be able to watch footage and collect certain game films and highlights and stuff like that. It was very, very, for me, it was so enjoyable to be in that atmosphere. Being in a city like Cincinnati made me hone in on like other sports and just other things in general. When it came to basketball, I only could college because there was no professional. It was always just, the only professional team that's very revered in Cincinnati is the Bengals. You know what I'm saying? So that was where everything kind of revolved around. So being able to do that, and then, having another internship at the NBC station. And that's when I first met a Black guy that was in charge of the station. And working with him and figuring out the ins and outs of how you're seen as a reporter and what's paid attention in your B-roll and paid attention in your like tape where you're trying to get a job as a reporter also helped. But pretty much internships are very important, and you can't ever go into it thinking that it's for the money. Like, okay, I need to get an internship that doesn't get paid. I didn't get paid for an internship until I was at Disney, and that pay was like very, very, low. It was like, so I think it was like $1,300 a month or something like that. And the great thing about it, it's Walt Disney World, so a lot of things are included in that. You get to go to the park free, you get to go anywhere free, you get to go all the games, all the scrimmages, the summer leagues. You have access to things you wouldn't have access if you weren't an intern. But
ESPN owned them did they
ESPN,
own
ESPN Wide World of Sports internship. It was a public relations internship, but I kind of used the public relations internship as a way to also increase my access and my abilities as a reporter, as a producer, and things like that. But I also learned how to be in PR for a year. For a big company like that, PR was something that I didn't really learn or anything like that. But I took the internship when a lot of my teachers believe that this is not a good internship to take. This has nothing to do with reporting. This has nothing to do with, being a reporter or anything like that. And I said, look, it may not, but it's going to teach me another skill, how to, be in PR, which is associated at times with being a reporter, with being an athlete and things like that. So when I talk to athletes, they know that I have the PR experience, that I know how to let you know how to say things correctly. You know what I'm saying? I have the media training. I can train anybody on how to talk in front of a crowd, how to talk in front of media. Make sure you articulate everything you're trying to say in a very, very quick and concrete way where they understand it and they move on. What questions are coming and things like that. So all my internships, I made sure that they weren't the same. That's the biggest thing too. One could be straight sports reporting. One could be I interned with an editor. One could be I interned with, a sideline reporter. So just different outlooks on the business. So when I got to this time, when I got out of college and got done with graduate school, I can kind of hone in like exactly what I wanted to do.
So I'm hearing so many different skill sets that you've acquired throughout your college career, so many different experiences that you acquired at the same time. Do me a favor and allow the audience to truly understand what an associate producer is, because clearly you seem like a person that should be in front of the camera. You got the presence, you know how to handle yourself with the camera. You're talking about all those skills, but you were also spotlighted by Nick Wright at Fox Sports Net when you left, and you were behind the scenes for them. You work a lot behind the scenes.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily what's coming off. So do me a favor and make it plain. Allow people to actually understand what an associate producer is, what they do, and also when are you going to get in front of that camera?
I mean, what an associate producer does, various things in different companies. At Fox, as associate producer, I was writing scripts at times when I was doing like certain segments, like But First or anything like that. So like highlights and, pretty much you do some writing. You also cut video, cut B-roll. You'll even your dab into doing segments also. So there's segments that I've come up with throughout my career at Fox that, have been seen. That's, Mossed is a segment that's now ESPN with Randy Moss. It's something I had come up with and created with.
You helped create You Got Mossed.
Yes.
With like a pack of people, or you specifically created this obvious set that should have happened a long time ago anyway?
Yes.
You got
yes, that is me. I created that. I have, and the thing is, if anybody would come with it, I got all stuff to prove it though. So like it was a concept. Randy Moss was there. That's one of the things that we all said growing up. It's a culture icon. As a thing, like I said, you introduce yourself to a place like Fox where there's not a lot of Black people there. So when I'm saying things like, oh, the one like we should come a show called Moss, like Moss. Oh, like when they what exactly is that? Me explaining to them like Moss is like when Moss would jump over people and catch it and things like that. Most people knew about that in the industry, but making the name of that the name of like the number one, like a segment when we had Randy at Fox was my biggest thing. I work with Randy. I will cut the plays. I'll libero the plays, have the different types of looks for him, go over the plays with him and all that stuff. We gave out the first time we did it was the season Odell caught that catch, the one-handed thing, the one-handed grab everybody talks about. That was our Moss catch of the year. And we got to give the award to it. We made an award. We delivered it to Odell. Odell made a video, sent it back, and everything like that. It made the entire segment. That was our first award for the show, for that segment of the show on Fox Football Daily at the time. Bro, so it was every Monday. So yeah. So we made graphics for it and everything like that. And that's probably one of the first things that I knew that like when it worked, I was like, okay, I can do this. And at the time I was a PA. I was a production assistant. I was not an AP. I wasn't a broadcast assistant yet. I was doing this as a PA, my first year. I don't want to say first year. What was it? It was probably America pregame. I don't know. America's pregame on Fox Football Day. One of the two. It kind of blends together. One got canceled in first year, and then the other one just came upon itself.
But don't worry, we're gonna go through this path for your careers because we
yeah. So Fox Football Daily was the first show I worked on, and America's pregame and different shows after that, Fox Sports Live and Speak for Yourself and First Things First. But
associate producer, what does it do?
Associate producer does a lot of things. They write, you come up with segment ideas, some creative storylines, questions, you cut B-roll, you cut shots, sound on tapes and stuff like that. And you're just pretty much trying to just do whatever is needed for the show. So whatever is needed and whatever you're assigned, you try to knock that out. Excuse me. You also have PAs that are working under you that you're assigning different assignments to it. They have to cut this tape or cover this block, and things like that. So for a show like the debate shows that I've been doing, there's a certain formula. You come in and you know what you have to do. You come in, you like, I wake up in the morning, you're like, all right, we got to cut this B-roll, we got to cut this video, this shot. You want to knock out everything in order, so everything gets pretty much sent over to the rundown and everything like that immediately, so people can review it. And you're pretty much going double checking everything that's being sent to the rundown and all the videos that are being covered. And yeah, that's pretty much all of it. It's fast, it's high pace. You got to be on your P's and Q's. You got to know what you're doing. You got to make sure everything is like, if they want a 15-second B-roll, you got to cut a 15-second B-roll. If you want the shot to sound good, to make sure that the audio's right, the color's right, to make sure the editor knows the ins and out and what's to cut and put it all together. If we got to add a white flash or some music behind it, or we want to end the sound on tape with B-roll and things like that, you got to make sure and that's like a vo side vo. That means you have B-roll in front where the talent will be talking over and they're introducing the sound that's about to come, and then they have the sound come in, and then they have the vo that's coming after it. So there's a lot of tedious things, but you have to know that it's a live show. So when it airs, it airs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And it's done. You know, you kind of have to have a quick like mindset. If the mistake does happen, you know, you just got to jot it down, make sure you don't do it next time. So, but that's pretty much all that goes into it.
And to make it real for people, when you're seeing the B-roll for about 15 seconds while they're talking over it, you're saying an example would be Antonio Brown running off the field with his hands up,
Yeah.
chucking stuff, and they're in the background like, is he professional? Do you think he's okay? Is this CTE? Was the coach wrong? And then it cuts to Chip and Shannon talking right there.
Yeah. So that's something like the B-roll be covered by like Jenna Wolf or Jenny who on Undisputed. So they will do usually the VOs because the talent, they don't really, you know, the Skip and Shannons don't really do the VOs and all that extra stuff. Usually you cut that stuff to support their argument. So if they're gonna do something or cut something or something they want, like they want to talk about how good of a catcher he is, like even though this is what's happening off the field or on the field, he's still a great player. So you want to show him having nice catches and things like that. So you want to put that together. And when you get to AP role, you might cut those things still, but that's mostly something you will assign your PAs to do. You know, your PAs are handling all the like the B rolls and stuff like that. You handle a little bit more of the, you know, stuff that needs more eyes on it or something like a little bit more like tedious, like sound or a certain tape or anything like that they want you to find, you know, from the internet they want you to bring in, like, you know, AB obviously continues to do extra stuff, but you got to also insert your ideas too at the time. You know, you got to insert your culture and things like that to the conversation, because sometimes that's overlooked at some companies and things like that. So because there's been multiple times where I've had to like interject, like, oh, this is why he did something, or this is why, you know, who he is and why he's doing something, or any other player that's that time, or any other athlete, honestly. So
for clarity, mind you, I said Chip. Obviously I meant Skip. But
Skip.
When you say PA, you're saying production assistant? Is
production assistant? Yes.
Production assistant. Okay.
Production assistant. So when you get into the industry, that's pretty much the first job you get after internship. You want to kind of lock in to focusing on trying to get in. Your foot in the door is the production assistant. Obviously, the foot in the door is the internship, but the foot in the door is the production assistant. And at a couple now at Fox is production assistant, broadcast associate, associate producer, into segment producer to producer. You know, at different companies, they may be just, and like ESPN is producer, I mean PA to AP, the segment producer to producer. At the company I'm at now, it's pretty much smaller. It is producer and associate producer. You know, and depending on different companies, those can mean different things. You know, at Fox as an associate producer, you don't do as much producing. You may do some segment producing from time to time. They might assign you a segment, or you come up with a segment, so you get kind of grab all the reins on exactly what to do. But like in the position I'm at now, I do a lot producing work. I do a lot of PA work. I do a lot of AP work. You know, it's all aboard because we got to cover everything.
When you're saying producing, I just want to be clear because I don't want to make the assumption, because producing means a lot in a lot of different areas. So when you're saying producing, are you saying an example would be, I'm going to a different network, First Take, and the different takes that they have to give? You're giving the actual topics. When you say producing and you're producing a segment, what does that actually look like?
As a producer, you pretty much cover all of the everything under the sun. Everything you did as a PA, the BA, to AP, to segment producer, that's what the producer does. That producer is writing, that producer is coming up with the segments, coming up with the questions, contacting the talent, making sure they're going over everything and understanding what's being said and what their arguments are going to be. You're inputting the B-rolls and the different videos and sound that you need for each segment. So you're making sure those are in there. You're assigning to the segment producers what segment for them to cover and what segment you want them to make sure to focus on, that all the tapes are in. But you're more of like, you're overseeing everything. And then when it comes on to the show, you're telling the director what cameras to cut to. Like, hey, cut to this one. Go to, you know, hey, cut the Skip, or cut to Nick Wright, or cut to Kevin Wiles, or cut to Chris Broussard, or Jenna is doing her read, so let's have Jenna on camera and things like that. So you're sitting there next to the director, kind of like you guys are together, putting the show together right there. You're making sure what times are good. Like the director also has their autonomy to pick exactly where they want to go. But if you as the producer know, because the pre-game, the pre-meetings, when a kind of the talent is done with their tape. So you got to let the director know, like, okay, they're about to finish up, boom. And then you're also producing a show where you're keeping the time of each segment. Some segments are 8 minutes long. Some segments are 10 minutes long. Some segments are this or 5 minutes long. Like you just got to make sure that you're switching over and letting the talent know in the ear exactly what we're about to do next.
How small is that hit? Because I've heard them all say, my producer's talking to me right now.
It's
how small is that? Like, sometimes you don't even see it on camera, or their head just turns so you can't see it.
Yeah, so it used to be you had to get the whole thing where you got to tie it in and put it over and things like that. So nowadays, a lot of people can, there's your headset pack, you have it, sometimes you have it locked in right in their earpiece. It's very small. Usually most of the guys get one that's customly made for them. So you don't see it. It was rare when I started, and in the industry like 9 years ago, it was rare for guys to say my producer is saying something to me, you know what I'm saying? But then it became more of like and became kind of cool. And now it's all right. The more and more that these guys reference what's going on in the air, or somebody's talking to them and things like that. Usually when that happened, that was usually like breaking news, like old school, like I'm getting breaking news right now. I'm seeing that there's a riot downtown or something like that.
Yeah.
So, or this player was just traded, and breaking news. And that's all. And in the background, the producer's doing all of that. Like, hey, we just got breaking news. Because that's the thing. While you're back there, you still got to have, right now, you still have to have Twitter up. You still have to have, Instagram up for all these sports guys, because you never know when Adam Schefter or Woj or all them guys are going to drop news. You can't control that.
I laughed because I was thinking about watching the trial of OJ, whatever that show was with Cuba. I think they showed something where I guess it was the middle of an NBA game. And they had to cut away. It was like, right now we have OJ Simpson on the white Bronco going up the freeway right now. This is crazy.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, it took them probably 15 minutes to get to that point, 15 to 20 minutes to get to that point. So y'all, everybody out there's like, oh my goodness, they just cut to it. They didn't like prep. No, they've been prepping for running around. Hey, we got it. We got a good camera. Who's on it? Who's going? Hey, Bob, this is what you're going to say. This is how you're going to intro it. This is how it's going to go. So when we get to it, we're going, all right, we got the tape. We got the video. We're ready. All right. In 10, 9, 8, 7, we're about to cut in. All right, Bob, we're about to come to you now. And then, hey, everybody, we just cutting in. Bob Costas breaks that news on NBC in the middle of a basketball game. So it's very, very tedious. It's a lot of things that go into it from everything. And then it's a lot more time that goes into these shows. The show's 3 hours long. We're getting up and prepping 4 hours, 5 hours before the start of the show. So if my show started at 6 a.m. on the East Coast, I was starting work at 10:30 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So that's what goes on into it. Now with the shows that I do and the S tiers and everything I do, with buckets, it's the same thing. We shoot, we're prepping for it, we're writing things down, collecting the photos and all that stuff just for 10 minutes. It may take me 4 or 5 hours to put together, edit, script, cut, recut, make sure there's subtitles, make sure there's a good cut here, photos shown here, all to go into an 8 or 9 minute video. And that's the same thing with a 3 or 4 hours, 3 hour, 2 hour show. We're taking 5 to 6 hours writing, cutting tape, making sure everything's going to go so we can be ready for when it's live. Because when it's live, it's live. There's nothing you can do after that. And when it's live, we're still cutting stuff for later blocks. Like A block, B block, C block, D block might be done, but we might be still cutting stuff for the E block and the F block while the show is going on. So, and the producer is communicating this. Hey, Charles, is this cut? This ready? I'm letting them know, hey, this is cut. It's ready. It's in. We'll be ready for that You know, if breaking news, like I said, they come on, hey, this person just got traded. Could we get a 15-minute B-roll of so-and-so making shots on this team? Okay, sure. All right, cut that B-roll, send it off. Oh, he's being traded for this person. All right, you cut that and show it off. So it's a lot going on in the background, but I love it so much.
We need some real new B-roll for Ben Simmons. I'll tell you that. It's the same B-roll that him walking around in the sweats with the phone hanging out for the last 6-7 months, whatever.
Yes.
I know I exaggerated, but it's just like, we get it. All right. Anyways, so
and that already cut. That B-roll's cut and already in the bag. And you just keep using the same thing. And that's the thing, you know, it's what, if you don't get no new stuff, and sometimes they were like, hey, could you go on the IG and throw in some new stuff? Like, oh, him walking around with his newly engaged fiance or walking around and stuff like that. Let's cut that in there to make it a little bit fresh. And that's the same thing we have to pay attention to. Weather. Like if we throw a B-roll up and it's the Bengals practicing in the winter and we all know it's July, or we know it's, you know, that's not good. Like we have to pay attention to all those things, the elements, like, because we don't want to show something like they're practicing in snow when I'm looking at the weather and it's 65 degrees in Cincinnati or something like that.
So it's interesting. I want to say it was probably 2009, 2010. I'm thinking about time period in my life that I may have done this. It was that point when you turn on ESPN, you just let it sit there as like background sound, and it just keeps playing Sports Center over and over and over. And it's like the first Sports Center gives you this basic B-roll. And then each time it comes on, because you've watched it so many times, every time you looked up at the same story as if it's new breaking news, it's a whole new set of B-roll. By the third time, fourth time, it's like, oh snap, they got some new production, new images of this thing. And it's like they get to perfect it over the time, because if you're watching it, you might not have seen it already, so you don't know that we're doing this.
Yeah, you don't know. And especially like because breaking news is usually the bare bones B-roll, what you can get quickly on screen. And then after that, you get a second try, third try, fourth try, especially when you know it's going to be a story talked about throughout the day. So you're like, all right, now we're about to be on for the fourth time. Let's get the best stuff we've accumulated over the past 2 or 3 hours and put that on. Let's make it longer, make it a 1-minute B-roll, you know, let's switch it up. Let's put some shots differently. Let's have a different starting shot, a different middle shot, you know, make sure sometimes they have B-roll 1 and 2. If we have, like, if you're running, Cannon, you're doing your thing, like we'll have Cannon B-roll 1, Cannon B-roll 2, Cannon B-roll 3, and then Cannon B-roll 4 be all B-roll 1, 2, and 3 together. So and then 5 might be just starting B-roll 2 instead of, you know, and putting B-roll 1 last or 3 second and things like that, just to make it seem different to the person that's watching. But like you said, you get different people watching at different times. So that's another thing. Like, so repeating stories or repeating stuff like that is something that's very seen in our industry, but they try to make sure they make it new with different questions, different things like that, but still staying in a similar circle for that certain topic.
All right. So you said a lot about what you do and just how much work and how tedious this thing is. How many hours are you working in a day?
I mean,
and how many days a week are you working? I just thought about that too.
Well, the thing about broadcast journalism, you're always working. Like, and for someone that's like myself that loves basketball, and being that I work on a basketball show at Wave Sports and Entertainment on Buckets, like NBA, I'm watching everything. I'm always paying attention. I'm always seeing what I'm seeing. I'm always on Twitter. I'm always on Instagram, seeing the great plays or covering this and covering that, you know, and you're always pretty much on, like, working wise. Like, when you know you're not working is when your phone is down, you're watching something else on TV, you're not paying attention to sports at all. You know, those are the times when you know you're not working, you know. So I would say I work probably like 8 to 10 hours a day, you know, and that's some of those hours are just writing, researching, watching video, taking notes, making creative ideas, you know. And then some of it is, you know, actual physical work where you're watching scripts and you're telling the editor to cut certain things, and then some of those hours are actually sitting in the studio shooting these things and making sure these things work and setting up the studio and things like that. So for that, I would say, yeah, 6 to 8 hours a day. Because I mean, even when I travel, like I'm traveling now, and I don't drive anymore to work. I take the train, and now while I'm taking the train, I'm looking at highlights. I'm making notes for the show, making bullet points. But sometimes writing scripts on this, sending that through Slack to some of our talent and letting them know, like, hey, this is my idea. You want to expand on this, so we get a jump on it. So when we get in, we can talk about it a little bit more in depth. So that's pretty much what I would say. I'm working about 6 to 8 hours. No, 8 to 10 hours. My bad.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's go ahead and rewind and allow people to hear the actual path that you've taken. So you just graduated college. You got your bachelor's in broadcast journalism. You have a bachelor's in communications and electronic media.
Yeah. Well, I mean, electronic media is the concentration, but it's communications. Yeah.
Okay. And now you just moved on to Syracuse. Is that accurate?
Yes. Well, yeah, accurate. I mean, right out of college, getting a job in the industry was very difficult. You know what I'm saying? I cut my hair. I had dreads at the time. I wanted to, be the part. At the time, dreads wasn't like very, very welcoming into the industry. You only saw like 1 or 2 people with dreads on. They were talking about music. They weren't talking about sports or being stand-ups or anything like that. So I cut my hair, went low cut, wanted to be on reporter-wise.
Hey, this is real, by the way. This is really real. Like, you can find images of me at points when I have no facial hair. That's because I'm trying to go into some significant job interview, and I really want it. And we cut our hair, we cut our facial hair off. Like, we're really making ourselves less black. You're still black.
You're still black.
But you're not as aggressive in the way that you look. Something changed about you. You smile. Yeah. That helps the interview, by the way. Just smile in the interview. You could say less and smile, and they will remember you because you were happy. Never mind. Anyways.
Yeah, for sure. You have to bring this like energy that's like positive and anything like that. But that's just who I am as a person. I'm a very positive person. The cup is half full, positive energy around me. I don't want negative energy. Please get away from me with all that extraness and being negative. So yeah, coming in, I cut all that off, trying to be the reporter. At that time, mindset was being a reporter. I didn't really have too much insight into the producing world. I knew how to do it and all that stuff, but it was like being a reporter. Became, a bank teller, team director and things like that in between time. But at that time, I was being mentored by one of NBC's head of their station. So I was going there and getting insight from him and learning how to make a demo reel and things like that. So when I did get accepted to Syracuse, that was very, very big for me, and I was like, wow, this is it. A school like Syracuse, like Newhouse, is top 3 schools in me, #1 sports journalism school in the country. You know what I'm saying? You got the Mizzous and all that other stuff, but as an orange man, that is where I think it's the best grad school in the country. So I went there. I knew I was gonna be in debt. I knew all that stuff, but I saw there's more reward than the risk of not taking it because of money. Yeah. So when I got there, that was the whole thing. I was in the reporting program there, and then they came up with the sports broadcasting type of concentration when I got there, and they started that with my professor Denninger, and we focused on that, learning how to write for sports, like to cover sports. And that's where we really honed in on being a one-man band, because that's exactly what you are the first few years in the industry. If you do go through reporting, you got to go start at these smaller smaller cities. You're a one-man band. You're carrying the camera out. You're setting up your shot. You're getting all the footage yourself. You're doing your own stand-up. You're calling everybody. It's all you. The sports, team at a local place is very, very small. It's usually 2 guys and 1 editor. You know what I'm saying? You might be lucky to get a shooter from time to time, depending on what story you have. If it's just a regular story, a regular day, you're by yourself. If it's a big story, like a national story, or the team is like big, or it's like very important, or it's a slow news day, you might get a cameraman. But at those times, that's what I learned at Syracuse. You know, I interned at the local Syracuse Fox station, covered Syracuse basketball, you know, writing for that and doing all those things. But that's where I honed in my skills of writing and editing and communication law, and all the ins and outs of the industry. So you be well versed on anywhere you went, you know. So that's where you got to learn how to write. You got to do other things like that. And being able, while I was at Syracuse, I got a job as, you know, in a teacher's instructor assistant, and, you know, an instructor's assistant. So I got a chance to teach undergrads how to use a camera, how to write, how to shoot things, how to cover things, you know. So I also got the point of learning how to teach other people, so which helped my skills even more, because I knew I had to know the skill to teach younger folks while I'm learning what's going on. So
teaching is the best way to learn.
Yes,
like
for
it's
sure.
a really slept on way to learn. Like if you really want to learn something, learn a little bit of it, go teach what you've learned and keep doing that. And it kind of burns into
oh man, it locks in. It locks in. Like there's certain ways I cut stuff today that I taught a lot of people how to cut stuff. And I feel like that's because someone taught me how to cut it like that. And I felt like it's the best way to do it. So I always want to teaching in this industry is something that you should always do. Like it's something that shouldn't end. You have to, if you want your show to be better, you want your show to be where it is, you have to teach the PAs, the BAs, exactly how to do something in the right way, so your show can be to where you want it to be. If you're going to get to the industry and get to the producer side and don't think you need to teach anybody anything, then your show's not going to be where it needs to be. It's not going to be elite. It's not going to get to the elite status because you feel like, oh, you should know this stuff. So, you know, I'm going to let you do it. And that person's going to keep making mistakes instead of just teaching them how to do it the first time, you know, right, in the right way, thoroughly, have them try it out, and then, you know, let them do what they got to do and put their own little spin on it. That's the always, you know,
so okay, you went to Syracuse for 1 year, your master's
13
degree.
months. Yeah. And then,
okay, 13 months, and I'm every month I'm certain you felt every part of that. So I respect you saying your 13 months. It wasn't just 1 year. With that though, how necessary was that? Because I don't remember someone stressing the necessity of going to getting a master's degree in journalism. Like, is that how you got to those bigger platforms? You think that people respected your degrees a little bit more and gave you better shots because of them, or did you even need it?
It's in this industry, it's not what you know, is who you know. It's definitely not, you know what I'm saying? So coming out of Xavier, I knew that if I wanted to go to the night, to get back to LA or get to these bigger companies, you know, you got to really, really reach out and get these connections to get to those spots. You know, when you're doing when you're a reporter, you're doing a local TV thing, you don't really need the super connections, because you can start small and make your way up, work your way up. But when you want to get that experience, you got to get the connections. And Syracuse brought that. You know, I knew Syracuse was going to bring the connections, but I also knew I was going to get taught in a way that was different from a lot of other places. And then the name Syracuse, Newhouse on your resume is very, 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 very good. You know, I've seen Syracuse people throughout the industry. I connect with them all the time, especially in, you know, the Foxes, the ESPNs, the NBCs, and things like that. You know, Bob Costas. You know, there's a lot of Syracuse people I can name that I've met over the years, even those times when I was at Syracuse, that helped me get to where I was. You know, my job at Fox, it was a phone call from the dean of Newhouse that called on my behalf, you know, knowing that Fox Sports 1 was starting up. And she's like, hey, what are you doing right now? I go, I'm at Disney right now. I'm doing the PR thing. She's like, could you send me your resume? Like, I know Fox Sports 1 is looking for people and things like that. And I was like, yeah, because she already knew. We talked on a regular basis. Like, hey, I've been applying to Fox Sports 1. I've applied to all the positions, PA, BA, second producer, all this stuff. Was getting no call back, nothing. You know, I had that one phone call. Got another phone call to me. I've flown out there for an interview. I got hired right when I was done with my internship. I was right there helping start Fox Sports 1, being part of that, you know, that growth, of that being on Fox Football Daily and, being at a new network, is something of like you learn all the growing pains, the new structure, new owners, new things. So after Syracuse, I went to Walt Disney World, ESPN.
Hold on. Before we get to that, I want to just point out something he said, because it's something I love to stress. There's three things that everyone always talks about. What you know, his education is what you know. Don't necessarily get you in the door, but also can get you in the door because you need to know something to become a doctor. Who you know. That's him being able to make those phone calls. He made phone calls. Some of them were answered. Some of them weren't necessarily answering the way he wanted.
Yeah.
But who knows you is the person that can make the phone call for you because they know your skill sets and they can connect you. That's the person looking out for you without you having to do additional work beyond what you've done to make that person trust the person that they know. So that was really a dope point that you made, but keep going on your path. I just wanted to stop and make sure that was caught.
Yeah, that is very important, especially how you get in this industry. Like going in, like you can get that PA job for what you know. Some companies will be like, oh man, they did this, they did that. Your resume looks good. Let's talk to you. When you get into them APs or that producing or that coordinating producer or executive producer, those are all based on who you know. Like your resume can be incredible, but the people that know you and worked around you say you're dog, you're not good to work with, or you're just very difficult to work with, or yes, that person knows his stuff, but I don't know if he's right for your industry, your company. They always can sidetrack you from getting that next job. So that is very important to make sure you introduce yourself to everybody, to anybody, have a great conversation, pick their brain and all that stuff. But yeah, after Syracuse, I worked at ESPN Wide World of Sports in the PR department, sports PR department. So he pretty much covered everything. That's where I learned to write and cover everything under Daryl Fry, who's still there doing a great job. One of my other mentors, he just pretty much taught me how to write. He's a fantastic writer. He came from writing, newspapers and things like that. So he taught me exactly essentials of how to write things, for public relations, but also how to write things for, stories and documentaries and just outlines and how to get things approved. And I'll cover everything from cheer to, bad, like football, basketball. I don't know, all the random sports they had come through ESPN Wide World Sports. It's very random, but like every sport that I thought I wouldn't cover, soccer, minor league soccer, professional soccer, like it kind of made me very well-rounded in sports in general when I was there. And then after that, that's where I got the job at Fox Sports 1.
Do me a favor, since we're going down this professional journey, if you can, give me the salaries or the salary ranges of each position as you go down those paths. So you're talking about being over at ESPN
Wide World Sports. Yeah, the sports PR, I think it was internship, so it was like $1,300 a month. But they provided, that was it. This is $1,300 a month. You had to breathe much, do everything else on your own. You had to make sure you had to get your spot where you wanted to stay and all that stuff. I had 2 roommates. I ate spaghetti every day.
Like, hey, yo, spaghetti is that move.
It's the savior,
$1,300, and that's what you got for the month.
The month,
and it's quick, and it's a whole bunch of food. You can make a big pot of spaghetti. You got lunch, you got dinner, you got lunch, and you got dinner. And if you play it right, you might be able to get you some breakfast. I used to break my noodles in half, so double the amount of the noodles. And if you got company like my wife and my girlfriend at the time, fiance, but she was my girlfriend at the time, she come by, it's like, oh, I made food for us.
Man, look at here. I had no time to that. That was probably one time in my life where I was like completely like zoned in, like, okay, I have no time for nobody. Like this is it. I have to really focus in because the next step, I don't know what it was. And it was getting towards the end of my internship at Disney, like at ESPN Wide World Sports and Disney, like it was very, very worrisome because I wasn't getting any calls back. I was like nothing. ESPN wasn't letting me, I working for Disney in their industry, and I was not getting interviews at the time. And during those years, that 2012 year is still a little rough when it comes to the industry and just jobs in general across the board from like 2010, when I graduated in 2010 from Xavier to 2012, it was very difficult. I think it was just just jobs in general. Like, it was just very hard to get from 2009. I know a lot of people that worked odd jobs before they got the job or the career they wanted. Some people just gave up. Like, all right, I like this industry, I'm gonna stay in this. And but during that time, I was very, very going to work where I got my degree. Like, I was not going to do something else. Like, this is not, I didn't spend all this money. I didn't spend all this work. I didn't do all these internships to be in some random industry that has nothing to do why I went to school. So, like, I was determined to do whatever I needed, wherever I needed to go, whoever I needed to talk to stay within the sports broadcasting industry, So when I got the job at Fox, I was like, okay, this is great,
And that job was paid too.
PA, I was probably paid like 35. But like, if you're coming into you gotta love sports broadcasting. Like, you gotta love it. If you're coming into this industry thinking you're gonna get paid, no. You're not. 35, you're not gonna get. But a guy that's 22 years old, 23 years old, well, I was like 25 years old, 35, 36 is a lot of money.
Where were you living?
I was living at home.
What state?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
So you were staying with your parents?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm about to say that. I heard that LA and NY ain't the places for no 35, 36 salary and live.
It's not. Okay. You gotta have the PAs I'm working with. They got 2 roommates. They're living in a house with a room. For me, I had to stay at home. That was the best way to do it. And I was commuting from Fontana to LA. And for y'all that don't know that's an hour commute. That's an hour drive. With traffic, that's 2 hours. So I'm waking up 4 o'clock in the morning, getting on the road at 4:30, driving into Fox to get there early. Because for me, I don't want to sit in traffic for 2 hours. Call time for work wasn't until like 8. I'm getting at work 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. If I'm tired, I'm sitting in my car, sleeping in my car in the parking lot until I'm ready to go inside. You know what I'm saying? But it was about being there early, about sending the message that, look, Charles is here to work. Like, I don't care. I don't want y'all to think, because I live an hour away, it's going to mess with what I can do for this company. So I made sure I was there early, cutting stuff early, getting assignments done early. They knew I was there early. I was there early so much and getting so much overtime. They had to tell me to stop clocking in. Because they were like, Charles, look at man, we know you get here early, you're doing your work, and I understand you're doing work, but my producer was like, it's hard for me to justify you getting there 6 o'clock in the morning every single day when call time is until 8:30. Like, you're getting 2 hours of overtime before we even start, prepping for the show. And I'm like, I am prepping. I'm doing. He's like, I know you're doing work, but it's just hard for us to quantify the amount of hours you're doing in a week, So that's where it was. When I got in, that's what I was doing. I was getting there early, cutting stuff, writing stuff, or coming up with ideas, being ready. At that time at Fox, we were doing like PA testing at the end of the like each show. They'll ask people what's going on in sports, and you got to know all the information. So yeah, working on shows like Fox Football Daily, and then that show got canceled. So I started working on a show called America's Pregame, where I became a broadcast associate. And that's where you do all the graphics, lower thirds, you see all the full screen graphics with like tell it a T, or this guy had this many catches and rec yards and things like that, or this guy's shooting this from the field, or things like that. That's what I was doing. Stats and, stats, topic bars, what they want to say. Sometimes if you're live and you got to be listening to the show and you got to quote somebody that just said something and type it up quick, read over it, send it. So you can fly it. It's clean. They fly it up. Hey, this person just said so-and-so, like Allen Iverson's dope. Okay.
That's the broadcast associate that does this?
Broadcast associate, yeah.
Are you sending this through somebody? Because, if you watch a CNN, it is quick. Someone says something and it's right there in the bar. And it's like, if you make one error, which you do see errors sometimes pop up on the screen, is there at least somebody seeing it before you do it?
Yes. So in the studio, you have the preview screen, and then you have the screen as live. So they have it labeled. So you'll do your cut, you'll type it up, you'll send it, they'll play it, they put it up on the preview screen. Most likely the producer is reading it or everybody's reading it. They'll read it out loud, like, okay, yeah, he said that. All right, fly it. Then they fly it up. It is that quick. You have to be paying attention. You have to have a headset in, and you have to just have it open. Boom, 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 boom. It's gone. Boom, boom, boom. It's gone. And boom, boom, boom. It's gone. The thing about the broadcast associate that sometimes a lot of people that are in that position, the graphic position, get frustrated about is what you said. You got to be, it's perfect or it's wrong. There is no gray area. You know what I'm saying? True. If your producer might send something wrong to you, copy and paste can be not your friend. As much how easy it is to copy and paste stuff, you can copy and paste it, but you better read it out loud or you better look over it. I've made many of those mistakes where I just copy and paste stuff out of trust that the producers put in the right thing and fly it up, and they'll read it like, oh, that's wrong. Take it down. And you're like, did you not proofread it? Like, oh man, you can't argue with your producer. Like, you put it there. Like, you can't do that. You just got to take the L, eat it, and move on. And the PA position is not as stressful. The BA position, the graphic position, teaches you really where you need to be. Like, man, I really need to read through my stuff, look over everything. I really need to be buttoned up. That is the position where it teaches you to be buttoned up, because you get killed if you make a mistake. Comma in the wrong place, no period, status wrong, words are together. You get killed for that. You know what I'm saying? But if you have a perfect show, no one will say nothing. No mistakes. No one's gonna be like, Charles, man, that was a perfect show. Good job. Nah. That is a mistake first position. Like, you get a mistake wrong, you'll be called out for it. If you get it the whole show right, you did your job. Good job. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Same thing I did when I graduated college, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get a huge hug and congratulations from my dad. He's like, son, what's next? You know what I'm saying? Like, there it is. It's just how it is. What's the next step?
That was the expectation.
Yeah, your expectations.
Like, so, it's like you're expected to breathe. You're expected to graduate from college. I'm not patting you in the back.
Exactly. So that's how it is in the industry. You're expected to do your right. So after that, doing the BA thing for about 2 years, I got the AP job, did BA for APG and then Sports Speak for Yourself. With Jason Whitlock and Colin Cowherd at the time. And after that, they developed a new show with Nick Wright for First Things First. So I moved over to that with Nick Wright.
Was this all lateral from the PA?
Yes, all lateral. So
you were still getting the same 35?
Oh, no. BA is like 45. I think AP was like 55, 58. And then like over the years, I just started fighting more for myself and getting more and more and more. The one thing about the industry, certain companies don't pay you for your degree, and Fox did not do that. So like, you can tell them Fox, like, hey man, like, hey, I have a degree, can I get extra? I have a master's degree and stuff like that. Oh no, we don't pay extra for degrees. You like, dang, okay, all right. That was one of the things I came in asking, and every single time I try to remind them. As the years went on, I kept reminding them that I had this degree. You know what I'm saying? It's funny that it is true. You don't necessarily need it. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to when I get to a different position, that I become an AP, the producer, things like that, these other positions that I'm getting higher and higher up, it is very, very used and welcomed, and why I get paid more and things like that. Because the higher you get up, the better they want to use, as a way to promote the company. Hey, this producer on the team is a Syracuse graduate, Xavier graduate, you know what I'm saying? He had these jobs at Fox and all of that stuff. They want to talk about who they have at their company too, as much as you want to talk about yourself, So, but when it gets to those times, I'm not saying I should be valued more than somebody. If somebody has 10 years experience and didn't go to college, that I have 10 years experience and I went to college, experience is experience, but my experience on how I got there is just different and maybe a little bit more I know the, ins and outs of this, the educational route where I can branch out and teach people at the same time and things like that. But after that, yeah, I was AP for First Things First, and then I just ran into just the
That's
time. Associate producer, yeah. So just ran into the time just doing that show. I was on that show about 3 years. Yeah, three and a half years. And that's where it just got into the pandemic happened. I just got into button heads with Fox, just trying to get to that same producer's job and get that promotion. And that's, I had to make the point in my career to make that change. Spending 8 years at a company, it's, that you're like, you really love the company. You really love what you're doing there and you want to keep growing there, But
what were you doing with Spotify during that time period? Because I know it looks like you left in October, but you started with Spotify during that same time.
Yeah, during that time, I was just at home. Pandemic happening, I'm just I was at the same time looking for different things, trying to I was really focused on what I was doing at Fox FS1, but at the same time I wanted to branch out and do different things, So Spotify, I had a connection at Spotify, got a post-production coordinator position, and was thinking about moving there and doing post-production stuff. So sorry. I was trying to do post-production stuff. When I moved on to Spotify, when I decided to take the job at Spotify, I wanted to, learn about a new industry, post-production, the behind the scenes, the creating, how do things get cut, in an industry that was growing. Podcasts were growing. And now they're doing the video podcast that now they're actually having video and cutting different segments out and different previews. So as a post-production coordinator, you're pretty much making sure those stuff are getting cut by the editors, they're getting delivered, because it's all about deliverables, like delivering things on time, delivering things to be up on the website or on a different show, making sure things are just in order. And that's what the post-production coordinator does. It's not really a lot of creative involved. It's a lot of logistics, a lot of emails and things like that. And after doing that 3 months, I was pretty much like, okay, this is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to do. Yeah. So, not only did the guy that I was working for see that there's a little disinterest in it, I was honest with him, like, yeah, I'm not as interested in this industry as I thought I would be. Like, the excitement was there at the beginning, but towards the end, I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. I really do want to still do sports television, but I'm at a place at Fox where I'm not getting promoted and not looked at in the place that I want to. So I need to make a new way. I need to make new connections. I need to make a change, Yeah. And as much as the family that I built there and everybody that I've met there and still have connections with there, it almost became a mutual agreement with some of the guys that I know, that our producers, the coordinating producers, that like, hey, okay, we understand. We're not doing you any justice, keeping you in a position financially and career-wise. So we can tell you these are things that could happen in the future for you, but we can't tell you when. So for me, that was it for me. I was like, okay, y'all can't tell me when. And I have a great opportunity at Wave and Sports Entertainment where I'm getting a lot more introduction to the social media world, the YouTube shows, the Twitter, but they're also growing a place where we're going to be doing a lot more originals, a lot more shows like, S tiers or Mount Rushmores, or, shows with our talent, Nick, Zach, and Sean, and creating things, industry that also told me, hey, we bring you in, you might be on camera sometimes. And, that's something for me that's always been in the back of my mind. Like, okay, I do want to get back on camera. I do want to do things like that. Yes, I create my own podcast with my friend Josh called Chasing Chips. Check it out if you want to. Sports, check it out. What I'm saying? We do talk
platforms.
Spotify, Anchor FM, Stitcher, Google. Yeah, so the show is on YouTube, Twitter, we're on Chasing Chips podcast. My handle is Arena of the Mind, so that's where I do a lot of my sports talking and things like that. So that's where I introduced myself to is a lot more of learning that industry, that space, because I was strictly the broadcasting sports debate shows, the rundowns and things like that, not really too tied into social media and how that works and how Gen Z is taking in social like sports. Not a lot of Gen Z are watching the Undisputeds as they are live on air. They're watching their takes on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. And then they got other guys that we've got that we have like Sean, Zach, and Nick, who are big on YouTube, on Twitter, that have a following that wants to hear their sports take also. So helping produce those shows and things like that is something what I do now. And we're growing to trying to do so much more things that we have in store, from docs to original shows, to pairing up with the WNBA, doing things with EuroLeague basketball, and things like that just open me up to so much more of an industry that, I want to be in. I'm a basketball oriented person. So to get a job at Wave where it's just all I got to do is talk about basketball and produce basketball, I love it.
I feel it. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we did discuss at least the salary range for the associate producer roles.
Associate producer role, I think the associate producer role about 65. You know what I'm saying? 65, around that range. I mean, if you're coming from from a different company to a bigger company, you can be higher than that. So I would say like associate producer is probably from like 60 to about 85 range, depending on where you go.
What about the actual producer role?
The producer role you can get
from an official producer, but just curious.
Yeah, the producer role you can get from about 95 to about 120, depending on where you go.
Even at ESPN? I'm assuming they're the big daddy.
Oh yeah, ESPN producer roles, bro. They're probably getting the 6 figures. Those are all 6-figure jobs.
Yeah,
producer
and the talent seems like because they expose.
Oh yeah, the talent. It depends. Now it depends. Some talent are working per episode, so they get paid per episode. So they might get $2K per episode.
So you're talking about Jalen. We're talking about obviously Stephen A. I'm bouncing around a different.
Well, the Stephen A's of the world, the Nick, the Stephen A's, the Knicks, the Skips, the Shannons, they're getting 6-7 figure. You can go look up their salaries. It's out there. That's them. But I'm talking about the players that come on from time to time. They're getting paid per episode. They're not getting paid salary. They may get paid. They may be on a contract to show up. Like they might say, okay, we're signing Michael Vick to show up. Like when he started at Fox, he was on certain days. Friday and Monday was Michael Vick days on Fox. First things first. But so he's getting paid probably certain episodes. He hits his episodes during the season. Now he's doing so much more. He's hosting. He's on Sunday morning. He's doing so much more. And that's the same thing in the industry. It starts out like that for everybody. Anybody that's an athlete that's trying to get in this thing, same thing. If you a pro athlete, you're going to start out just doing shows, day by day. And the better you get, then you become a more integrated part of a show. You maybe every single day they bring you on. Maybe you bring on during just a certain sports. Maybe you want to talk about everything. But yeah, that is the salary for AP. The segment producer salary is probably a little bit around that too, about 80 to about 100, depending on where you go. And then, like I said, the producer can be from 100 to your experience. That's exactly where experience comes. Experience, views, and things like that get you more money. But that's where they take into part your master's degree. They take into that. You're sitting down at the table now. They're not just sliding you a sheet. Hey, this is what you're going to get paid, because this is the stock number we always pay. But when you get into those executive, those AP roles, the second producer role, the producer roles, you get to tell them what you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They say, oh, we're getting paid this. Nah, I was offered something at Wave. I said, this is what I want. They said, okay, cool. We like that number. You want that number? That's going to help us get you. Come on in. And I said, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I came on in, and it's not only that what you're getting at the time is what they are trying to promise you later then. Like tell you, okay,
Yeah.
Charles, you might come in, you can work on the doc you're talking about. You can potentially be ahead of another programming that we might have in the future. We might be growing as a company. You might become a producer sooner than later. You know, some of these things that we talked about peer interview during working and things like that. But, you know, at a point right now, I just want to grow the Buckets Originals channel. And that's all I'm focused on. You know what I'm saying? I'm all focused on this is new. This is another brand new thing. And you can't always worry about what you're making. And that's how I came in the industry. I came in working, like I said earlier, internships, I didn't get paid. Working for a very low wage, thinking you should be making more in the city of Los Angeles. Man, you got to make things work. You got to make ends meet. You got to have an extra job and things like that. I became a wedding DJ. I'm still a wedding DJ. You know what I'm saying? I still do weddings on the side. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to make ends meet where I want to be. You know what I'm saying? I still got to make ends meet no matter what. But you got to figure out how to balance it all. You know what I'm saying? What is like people say to me, you got to prioritize what's very important to yourself. If it's not important to you, you won't make time for it. You know what I'm saying? So, but it comes out the planning. I planned this year that I'm only going to do 10 DJ gigs. The year before that, I did like 17. The year before that, I did like 18 or something like that. That's because I felt like that was the way I was going. I was so frustrated with Fox. I was like, okay, I'm going to quit doing this. I'm going to go be a wedding DJ for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so frustrated with the system and not getting promoted and not getting recognized and not being talked about in rooms to get to a next level. I was that frustrated, but had to sit down with myself and be like, do you really want to do that on an everyday basis? Is that what you love doing? Like I've loved doing it, but I don't love it as much as I love what I'm doing now.
I got you. So
I knew that's where I had to stay.
All right, so I got a couple more questions, but we'll do that after this rapid questions. I do this little thing I enjoy is rapid questions. Gets a little bit of interesting answers out. The first question I'm gonna have for you, we already know the answer for, but just staying in the same rhythm. So make it simple as rapid questions.
Okay.
You just answer real quickly. Keep it obviously respectful and appropriate. I don't think I gave you any chances to give you anything otherwise, but I said what I said.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So first question is, what's your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Of course. Favorite book? Looks like the bookshelf.
Because the first thing popped in my mind is the Will Smith autobiography, but that's because I'm reading that right now, and that's not necessarily my favorite book. Man, it might be right now. It's probably Charlemagne the God's one. I can't remember the title of the book, but his book introduced
Privilege?
Black Privilege. No, it's the one before that. Is that his first book? Black Privilege? I don't know. But anywho, it introduced me to therapy. You know, being more, and I think that kind of changed, you know, how my outlook on how the industry looked, how everything I looked at my life. So as of right now, that might be my favorite book. My favorite sports book is Andre Iguodala's book was good.
Scottie Pippen.
No, I haven't read that yet. That's on the list.
Okay. Next one though. Favorite hobby?
Watching movies.
Movies. Okay. Genre?
Oh, wait, no. My favorite hobby is DJing.
That's what I thought. You got this right behind.
I don't know why. Yeah, my favorite hobby is DJing.
Okay. If you could speak with anybody, dead or alive,
Jackie Robinson.
Unrelated to you, Jackie Robinson. That was
not even close. Jackie Robinson.
Okay.
My favorite person. Other than my dad, Jackie Robinson is my role model.
All right. And this is why I say make sure you answer the question appropriately. A song that represents this phase of your life. And if that's too hard, what would you say your theme song is?
Whoo. Hustling by Rick Ross. I listen to that song every morning. it's just I just I love that song. It just keeps me.
Okay. Obviously, you love your company. I'm not talking about your company. Your company's growing, and you could potentially have this position. What is your dream position?
My dream position is producer for NBA TNT. That is it. You know what I'm saying? But no, there's no
have
but.
To do it after Chuck retires, because Chuck retiring, I think in like 2 more years, or it might be less.
I mean, what they do at NBA on TNT is just beautiful. Just everything about that company, about that show, about just NBA on TNT and Tuner Sports. Being a producer at Tuner Sports is probably like the dream job.
Okay. What's the change you want to see in the world? Are you frozen?
No, I'm not frozen.
You didn't even blink.
Yeah, no, man. What's a change I want to see in the world? Whoo, man. Supposed to be quick on that? That's hard. Yeah. Oh, man. That's right now it's just I just want people to support each other, like that's uplift. Like there's so much people just trying to be negative or just so focused on themselves, and that's as you should be. But also I want people to be able to uplift somebody next to them. Like what are you doing to uplift the next person? Being nice. That's it. I just want people to be nice.
Just be nice.
Just be nice. Just be
Jesus. It's too much to ask.
It's just be civil.
What's the change you're working to see? As in, what's the change that you're applying to make sure it comes to fruition?
The change I'm applying is getting as many people that look like me, Black people in our industry. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure that anybody that reaches out to me that's a person of color that wants to grow within the industry is something that I'm trying to do. The more people we get in at the bottom floor, the more we will see change at the top. Because at the end of the day, the change at the top across the board is still white. It is what it is. And it's still white men. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing. So we're just trying to see the growth of more Black people, more people of color in, higher positions. Yes, there may be a ton of us as PAs, maybe a ton of us as BAs, maybe a ton of us APs, but the higher you go up, the less you see. You know what I'm saying? Fox is probably 1 or 2 Black producers. The higher you go up, you don't see as many of you. But luckily at the company I'm at now, my senior producer is Black. My head of content is Black. You know what I'm saying? Head of this other section is Black. The other, head of recruitment is Black. So I'm seeing that in the company I'm at now, very, very a lot of examples how it could be, across the board.
Concisely, because this is not you
said okay, sorry.
So I want you to
say it again.
Build on something real quick. So concisely, because I have one more question after this.
You can ask it again.
I'm gonna go to that question. I'm gonna come back to this.
Okay, ask it again. Yeah.
The professional or personal, what's your why? It doesn't matter. You answer this how you want to answer it.
My why?
Yeah, what's your why?
My why is to tell the stories that are not being told, but no. My why is to tell stories and shine light on certain situations within the sport of basketball that make you respect the game, enjoy the game on a different level than just watching people put the ball in the hoop. You know what I'm saying? I want people to understand that these are individuals that love the game and have struggled and got to this point just it's not just there to entertain you. You know what I'm saying? They're playing a game of their life. You know, I'm producing something that I enjoy, and this is what I want. But I also have been in the trenches with a lot of these guys, you know, and this is what they do, and this is their whole livelihood. And it's just as you see your job as an accountant or as something like that, this is as important to them as that. You know what I'm saying? It's that important to what they do. So that's what I try to convey. These stories that are just, you know, I want you to leave a story that I write or produce or shoot with fun. It may be weird. It may be anything like that. It may be very quirky or anything like that, or just a different take. But I want you to come out of like, I respect that person's take. I respect their grind. I respect why they do what they do. And this is why I produce and why I work in sports.
I got you. Okay. Well, I got so many more questions I could ask you, but I'm not going to go all the way down all those things. But I do want to address something that you mentioned in the rapid questions. We're done with rapid questions. And that is, you mentioned you valuing your leadership looking like you. Can you speak to why that's significance?
It is.
And we're not even just talking, because I hear more than just saying representation matters, because we're not talking about representation outside. We're talking about for you personally, this is something that matters, and it does. It's a different experience when you finally look up and you're like, I mean, for me, I'll say it. It's like, dang, I don't have to think about being so black or better yet, not being so black. Like I'm coming in here professional, but I don't have to hide the evidence of what I am. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
it's the constant of being on. And that's the thing about when a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people, white people don't understand that you don't have the pressure of being on all the time. You know, you can be yourself. You can walk into a room, sweatsuit on, chilling, hair not done or whatever, wrinkled up. No, we feel like we always got to be on. So we got to wake up, iron our clothes, make sure there's no creases, make sure we're doing our hair, make sure we got the right hoodie on. The right hoodie doesn't say, it's not too aggressive. Like I was about to buy this Nipsey Hussle says, fuck the middleman, but it says FUCC, the middleman. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't walk. A few years ago, you couldn't. With the environment that I'm in now, I can walk into work with that hoodie on. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be cool with it. You know, they know it is what it is. I just like Nipsey Hussle. That's how they take it. They don't take it as this big old like, oh, he's trying to make a stand. He's trying to say something. Like, no, this is just clothing. Calm down. You know what I'm saying?
Not a gang member.
Yeah, it's not a gang. It's nothing. So, the thing that you're at, you know, previous company, I always felt like I had to be on. I always had to be, you know, speak a certain way, look a certain way, things like that. And now being that company where you see high up, it's not just you don't always have to be on. You know, you got to be, you know, you're going to be professional. You're working with other professionals that look at you. And it's also just the motivation, you know, to be able to see that, okay, these are people that are higher ups. I can get to that spot. I can see, okay, there's somebody like me up there. So there's the example that, oh, it can happen. It can be done. It's the same thing when Barack became president. And all the little kids like, okay, yes, I can. It opened up a new window. I can be president if I wanted to. You know what I'm saying?
It made the thing they always told us not a lie, because you could be anything you want to be when you grow up. Ironically, the title of this show, because they would say you could be the first black president, you be a doctor, lawyer, and it was like it would say first black president tongue in cheek at the end. They'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, maybe president. Yeah, you know, there was always a thing, but now that's like so that was the thing for me. Like I see that the motivation is there. These guys are just you know, how they navigate through the company and how they navigate through the industry is immense information that I'm gaining from these guys. And it's just great, you know, being in a meeting with some of them and being like, I'm the youngest guy in the room of all these other black, you know, professionals that's been in it. And I'm like, man, like I'm learning so much from y'all, and y'all connections are automatically my connections and things like that. Not automatic, but you know, over time it's become my connections because of just the work ethic they see within myself and how I can help grow the company and things like that. And they're all willing to help. They're willing to help you grow. If I can reach out, I have a question. If I have an idea, reach out, they listen to it. And that's what it is. I can tell an idea in my words how I want to, and they understand it immense, immediately. It's just a different vibe. It's just sometimes like people, sometimes you gotta do vibe checks at work. You gotta be like, man, is this a good vibe for me? Like, I understand I'm getting paid. I understand I this might not be the right vibe. I might be taking this terrible vibe home. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so unhappy at my previous work, not like with the people I work with, but just how it was structured and how I wasn't getting the opportunities that I wanted and I was asking for. It was making me unhappy in my life outside of work. You know what I'm saying? Because that was on my mind all the time. Like, always talked about, always being negative about it. So to be at a place now where I'm just positive all the time, that growth is not on my mind. Growth is not like a big part of my mind. It's always on your mind. You always want to grow, like within your career. Everybody wants to, but it's not like something like, man, every move is calculated. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when I'm previous boy, every move had to be calculated. I had to talk to a certain person amount of times, inform this person what I'm doing, inform this person what I'm doing, do this person, show what I'm doing, things like that. At a company like this, they automatically assume you're doing those things because they had to go
do
through
something, so you're doing it.
Yes. It's just like, okay, you're doing it. Like, you're gonna do it. We know you're doing it. We see the results. I don't need you to check in with me and show results and do all this extra stuff to get noticed, within your company, So just like I said, it's very important to see those things. It's one of the reasons I moved over there, moved away. It was just like to see that the growth, the openness to ideas that I may have, the openness of doing things, trying new things, which yes, there is a difficulty when you're a huge company like a FS1, but trying new things is very, tough, but you got to take chances, especially when the times are changing.
I mean, times are changing to the point that you go on the ESPN app and they got stories like on IG or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the ESPN app is modeling, and most of the apps are modeling the Facebook model of being able to swipe up and playing on those emotions that you get. So, and I heard you mentioning that you all are developing apps, you all have your own things. And so I can only imagine the social media value that you all are focused on trying to bring, and the potential angle that you're going to be able to bring it from, being able to tell stories from an angle that may directly connect with players as well as be relatable for the audience. And like I said, you want to create something that allows them to value not just the sport, but the people and the stories behind it.
Yes, definitely.
More than an athlete.
yeah. Just more than just, hey man, this dude makes this amount of money. He makes these shots. Yeah, we're going to talk about those stories, but we're going to go deeper. We're going to look at a different look at things. We're going to try to be what the Gen Z is looking for. They're looking for a little bit more deeper connection with these guys. They're a lot of them are following these guys on social media, the guys that reach out, they're doing things like that. You want to make sure that you're showing them in that light. That's the blessing in disguise that social media gives you more of an insight of who these guys are and gets them to speak their mind, good or bad, if you like it or not, but they get to speak their mind. They get to say who they are. They express who they are. They're more than just an athlete, more than somebody just bouncing a ball. You know what I'm saying? What I believe in, what I grow, and what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So
that's what's making those shows like Brandon Marshall's I Am Athlete popular. The Pivot, which unfortunately Channing, Fred left and we're over there with Ryan Clark. And I'm watching all their episodes. I'm watching both now. I really prefer those two being together, but whatever. That's their stories that's going on. But
yeah, Brandon Marshall, your twin, loaded man on days. Y'all, I feel like y'all are the same person. You and Brandon.
Well, if you want to do that, I'll say this. I don't know if you're doing it on purpose, but I wrote it down on my notepad to say to see you offline. Your cadence at times is Kevin Hart's. I don't know if you're doing it on purpose, but you definitely have a cadence at times when you speak, just like Kevin Hart's. So now.
No. I've been getting that forever. And the thing is, that's how I've always talked. That's just how I've always been. Anybody that's known me, if you know me a long time, I've talked like this before Kevin was like hot, like before he was who he is.
he still had a stand up out when we watched it. You probably was like, I like that. Anyways, but yeah, you right. Hey, but just so we don't, I mean, we went really long. I think the people that are watching really are going to enjoy this, are enjoying this. But before we head out, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to give your final take that you want to share, whatever didn't come up in here, as well as repeat your platforms that they can follow you on IG, as well as everything else you got going on, podcasts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want everybody to make sure you're checking out Buckets on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all that stuff. That's Wave and Sports Entertainment, Wave TV on IG. You can follow them. It's a great follow. Buckets is a great follow, but we're creating a lot of great stuff on there. Personally, my Twitter is Arena of the Mind. Obviously, Charles Dickson. We have a Chasing Chips podcast with my friend Josh that we do weekly every Tuesday. So those are the things I do. And that's the things I just, I love what I do. I just recently tweeted, this is probably the busiest I've been in my life when it comes to just work, family, and everything. But I enjoy every single minute. There's no thought in my mind. If I told my 24-year-old self, hey man, when you're 34, you're going to be very busy, but you're going to enjoy every single moment of it. I would be like, you lying. But now, it's great. Like everything I do now is just where I wanted to be. The connections that I have, the people that I talk to, be able to create and talk about basketball on a daily basis is just a dream of mine. And I want to just continue this dream wherever, ends, leads to doing more production stuff, more producing and things like that. That's where I want to be. And this is where I'm gonna stay. So, eventually, EP or CEO or some company or over some type of podcasting company. That's the thing. That's where I want to go. I'm like, sky's the limit for me. And I'm just trying to keep growing and keep grinding, keep hustling. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So my takeaway from what you said today is primarily keep learning, keep growing, keep developing. Maybe not the degrees, but the skills that you are developing, the more you learn, the more you earn. And you've really broken down how you've become such a well-rounded person, because well-rounded journalist, well-rounded in your industry. You know how to handle the cameras, how to stand in front of the camera, how to do the things behind the scenes, how to make sure you're editing it. You talked about all these things, and that's because you've intentionally made sure you were in environments that were building each skill set, regardless if you were going to be in that role or not. And that is so integral in the growth as well as opportunities that are out there. And I think that that's definitely what you've articulated very well here. I also want to highlight, learn what you want to do so you know what you don't want to do. You mentioned one of the jobs that you took on with Spotify. It was like, this is my skill set, but this isn't where my heart is. And by doing that, you knew what you didn't want to do. And that's extremely valuable as well, in allowing you to stay in a position where you can tell your 22-year-old self, you're going to love every minute of it. And the last thing is make sure you go where your journey is respected. And when you know your journey and you're able to articulate that, you can take on a position because people already know the direction that you want to go, and they can articulate to you, this is how you're going to get there. You're going to do this for this amount of time potentially, and you're going to end up where you want to be. And I think that that's a very valuable thing, especially going into a job, regardless if you go into a role for this role. You can go into a role because you want the next role. I told one of my previous companies that, and I was promoted within a year. Now, I didn't expect that because the role opened up in a way that no one was expecting, but it's a part of knowing your journey and being able to articulate that. So who you know puts you in that position.
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely appreciate you, man. Thank you. And as I can do with not everybody, but the bruhs, go mob.
Go mob.